In the Fortuna dorm on the girls' side, Cassie was up early to meet Sanjo for her run. Supri was with her. Supri did not spend Sunday with her, and she knew he wasn't telling her something. She was already looking down the corridor when she saw Sanjo coming up to meet her. He waved, excited to show her something. Cassie was always happy to see Sanjo. He made homework a lot of fun, and it was nice that he was dependable. "Good morning, Sanjo. I was hoping to meet you first today," she greeted him. Sanjo couldn't wait. "I got you a tracksuit like mine. I'm hoping to get Jason and Emily too since I keep seeing them up early," he said, presenting a box to Cassie. She liked the brand name and the logo right away. It was a nice dark blue. It looked comfortable, and the stripe down the side really did look sporty. This time, Cassie didn't notice the other girls making fun of her. Marisol was peeking her head out of her door, watching Cassie admire her gift. Watching the other girls giggle, she noticed how injured Sanjo looked and felt worried about him. Procyon was behind her, watching her be sneaky about watching Sanjo. When Cassie hugged Sanjo, she quickly turned back into her room, nearly bumping into Procyon. "Get out of my way," Marisol said, hiding her face and sitting on the bed. Procyon flew up to her. She looked forlorn. "I can't believe she likes him. He's shorter than her," she said angrily. Procyon was amused by her stance. "Perhaps it is that Cassie is social and that fits well with Sanjo's dedicated daily routine," he suggested. "I could do that. I could go running, it's not that hard," Marisol muttered. Procyon pushed finally. "Why don't we go running in the same group as Sanjo?" he asked, eager to hear her response. "I don't want to run with a big group. I'm going back to bed," Marisol said, laying down and wrapping herself in a blanket. Cassie and Sanjo had eagerly sat down for breakfast together. Jason noticed right away that they had matching tracksuits. Even though he thought it was a little bit cliché, he complimented them as Emily wasn't there to keep him company anyway. "You guys look cute together," Jason said, enjoying waffles with too much maple syrup. Cassie invited Jason to touch the fabric. "Sanjo got it for me. He wants to get one for you too if you come running with us," she said, excited to see if Jason would join them. Jason felt the material. "I usually play basketball with Emily now, but I think tracksuits are a great idea," he said, pausing. "What's on your arm?" he asked, having felt a series of bumps under the fabric. Cassie was actually excited to show Jason. "These are my burns from when we got struck by lightning. My jewelry caused it. It's pretty cute," she said, rolling up her sleeve to show Jason. There were a series of ring-like and webbed burns imprinted into her skin. Sanjo didn't think they were cute at all. He didn't want Cassie to be caught up in all this again. Jason liked the pattern. "Hey, that's not bad. Do you think it'll ever go away, though?" Jason asked. Cassie smiled, touching the rough surface of her arm. "I got these with you guys. I hope I can keep them forever," she said, rolling her other sleeve up to eat. Emily was done for the morning and was happy to sit next to Cassie. They had a few classes together, and Cassie would usually pick Emily first to work with or chat to. "Hi, Sassy," she greeted her, sitting down with just a couple of pieces of toast. Cassie was happy to just have the four together again. She thought about the observatory more than anyone. She hadn't talked it out with everyone either. Like Jason, she was mostly having a good time. Having breakfast with the group was a good break from Supri. She knew her companion wasn't telling her things. He was more a part of her friends' lives than hers. Supri had talked a lot about Sanjo, but not when Sanjo was around. He had been more interested in what Jason and Emily were doing than what Cassie was doing. Supri had lied about his age to Cassie and kept family information from her. The name gave her high expectations. Cassie smiled, watching her friends fire pretend lasers at each other, excited for practice later. "Can I come with you guys after class today?" Cassie asked the group. Emily looked at Cassie funny. "Yeah, of course. We thought you were coming already," she said. Sanjo joined in. "Yeah, this time you have to play with us too," he said, nudging her. "Sure, Sanjo. I just didn't like the idea of shooting at everyone." "I'll try though," she agreed. Sanjo wasn't clever like Professor Silvestri, but he snapped into a plan seeing his opportunity. "Why don't we meet in the courtyard after school? Cassie and I can get you some matching tracksuits like ours for when we play together. You know, proper sportswear." We could all take a picture together, in the courtyard, Sanjo suggested and gauged everyone's reactions. Cassie was so excited because Sanjo wanted to do one of her favorite things, taking a group photo. Oh yes, that's a great idea, Sanjo. Cassie blurted out, causing other students to look briefly. Jason frowned. I'm always busted though. I can't get that, he said, finishing his breakfast. Emily slapped Jason on the arm, causing him to flinch. Busted?
Who says that? She argued.
Painfully, Sanjo forced himself to make the plan work. Well, how about I get them? It won't be a problem for me, Sanjo said, even though he knew it would be a problem. Cassie started to take charge. Sanjo is going to be busy getting us all matching stuff. Jason, you can get us a camera and Emily can just meet me after school. We have the last period together, she said, making sure everyone knew the plan. Jason scratched his head. Oh, my roommate Alex might have one. He's an artist, or at least might know someone, Jason said. Emily was excited too. Jason and I have a really stupid connection now, and I think it's really worth remembering, she said, bumping into Jason. It is pretty stupid, Jason said playfully. Cassie liked them together, but she quickly noticed how they behaved. You guys act like an old married couple, or like you broke up already, she said. They didn't seem to mind. The morning passed, and Cassie was happy to have a plan for after school. She had currency with Ms. Sable first. The lesson called for everyone to assess their wealth. Cassie thought Ms. Sable droned on for too long about other things being valuable. It wasn't a lesson she needed to be taught. When it came time to write the report, she quickly found herself distracted by friends. Emily had moved her chair to Cassie's desk as soon as independent work started. I hope it's okay to list all my skills as wealth. I don't have a lot of wealth, I think. I didn't bring a lot with me, she said, trying to gauge Cassie's opinion. Yeah, of course, everything we do is a bunch of abstract work to make us think, Cassie said, tapping her pencil on the desk. Supri was next to Cassie, displaying the approximate value of her jewelry so she could write it down, but she ignored him. I listed all my friends and our companions. I think knowing people is pretty good, she said, going over the list again. It was pretty long. So, what is this connection you and Jason have?
Cassie asked.
It had been bugging her since this morning. Emily thought about how to explain it. Jason and I saw the same movie. That put a thing in our heads, and so we do things that kind of keep us together. Dr. Larkspur thinks it affected lots of people, whatever it is, she said, trying to write. Cassie was worried. Is that what made you guys climb up that thing? She asked, and Emily nodded. So, what about Sanjo? What about the girl in his head? She asked, as Sanjo wasn't going to talk about it, and Supri was likely to bother her about it anyway. Professor Silvestri says it's a piece of a companion, so she talks to him, Emily said casually.
She was used to the idea by now.
Supri flickered. Cassie pretended not to notice. What else did he say? Cassie prodded. Emily looked up from her paper, paying attention. Oh right, Kriya and Supri are very powerful, but Professor Silvestri didn't say how. There were a few, Emily explained, trying to fill Cassie in. It's okay, I'll get Supri to fill me in, Cassie said, not letting Emily explain too much more. We should just focus on the assignment, Cassie said, putting the pencil back to paper. They worked through the class with Emily struggling to figure out what she had that was valuable. Something like seeing friends as valued seemed to be easier to justify for some students than others. Cassie noticed that Emily had written down a lot about Kriya. The day continued, and communications class had the wrong teacher. Mr. Braddock was a teacher now instead of a coach. Fortica took attendance automatically, so there weren't any playful introductions. Mr. Braddock didn't have any of the flair Professor Silvestri had. He read a passage about the importance of interpersonal communication directly from a book. Like before, she thought the class was unnecessary until it came time to write the report. Supri, I don't really understand internal dialogue, she said, needing him for the first time today. Supri blinked, happy to be noticed again. The things you say to yourself non-verbally. The way you see yourself, he said, summing up the definition. Cassie didn't know what to write. I don't understand. I mostly just talk to other people, she said, staring at a blank page. Supri encouraged her to find an answer. What were you thinking when you tried to save your friends? Supri asked. Cassie shook her head. I don't know. I thought Jason was trying to be macho or something. I couldn't believe I had friends that would do something that dangerous, she said, trying to think back. You ordered Sanjo to get Jason, Supri stated, pushing for an answer. Cassie didn't like where this was going. Why are you pressuring me? I just followed my friends. Cassie was lost, tapping the table aggressively and looking away from Supri. It became evident to Supri that Cassie understood the concept, but it wasn't a big part of how she saw the world. Supri spent a lot of time thinking and planning, but as soon as Cassie had to think and plan, she needed Supri. Cassie felt like she was stupid. She watched other students scribble a lot of things and even draw pictures while her paper remained blank. Supri tried something to help. Ask a question about yourself and answer it, he suggested. She began to write, What am I thinking about me? I don't know, I always try to be around people or keep myself busy. I like my friends because they want to hang out with me. At home, my family acts like I'm very needy, so I have to try to be modest. I'm so happy to be here. I have never needed to wake up early before. I don't ever want to go home. There are so many people at home, but no one will talk to each other. I hate it there. She finished the paragraph and Supri read it. You have good penmanship when you write from the heart, he said, making Cassie smile finally. How did you learn this? Supri asked, curious about the skill.
Cassie sighed.
I used to get into lots of educational books and workbooks and things. I like coloring books. I just used to stay busy with those kinds of things.
She paused and remembered.
I would see pictures of kids going to school or getting on the bus in those books. I wanted to go to that place, she said, remembering a bit of her childhood. I thought you were very social from the start. I didn't know what your home life was like, Supri said. Cassie wanted to talk to Supri. She was opening up to him. My family is supposed to be social. They meet lots of people and pretend they knew them for a long time. How come you never told me about your family? Like Kriya, Cassie asked, no longer interested in the assignment. Supri blinked before answering. It's complicated, Sassy. I have lots of family, and we aren't like the other companions. I'm not even certain we are as smart as the others, Supri explained. Cassie wanted to know more. I think you're different for sure. I met Orion and Nova. They're not like you. Kriya saved Emily and can fly high up like you. You are both strong enough to lift things, Cassie said, summing up what she knew. Supri was more cooperative when Cassie talked about Kriya. Kriya is much stronger physically. She is very energetic and will last for a long time. Maybe longer than her big siblings, Supri said. How come you don't talk to Kriya? She's obviously your favorite sister, Cassie said. She had no siblings, so she was very interested. Because she doesn't talk. She doesn't have to. I know that she knows when I'm there, Supri said, being polite. I used to fight with Tachita all the time, he said, not meaning to. It sounds like normal stuff. You shouldn't have hidden any of it from me, Cassie said, internally forgiving Supri. Before they could discuss it further, Fortika was coming to collect the reports. Cassie didn't get a good grade, but she passed anyway. Having finished second period, it was lunch. Cassie liked this part of the day because most students met in the cafeteria. Coming down the stairs, the first thing she saw was Jason finishing a phone call with one of his parents. Nova was right next to Jason. She was a little brighter than the others today. Sassy, hey. Jason called out. Sanjo and Emily are going to try to go to the mall and get back before class, he said as she walked up to him. Cassie felt crowded in the sea of companions waiting outside the cafeteria. Okay, Jason, do you want to eat outside today? We can take Nova and Supri out. They like it outside, Cassie suggested. Jason thought about it. That sounds good. I was going to check out the courtyard first if no one showed up for lunch, Jason said, heading toward the exit. Cassie stopped him. Why don't we check out the courtyard anyway? She asked, curious to see it too. Supri flickered and floated in front of Cassie. Perhaps now isn't the best time, Sassy. We should wait for Emily and Sanjo after school, he said. Cassie didn't like when he was being forceful, so she pushed him aside. Nova floated close to Cassie, excited. Let's go see the courtyard with Cassie, Nova said. With Nova's vote, there was no stopping them. Supri, like his siblings, is ambitious. The part of him that wants to keep Cassie out of harm's way isn't as strong as the need to discover what the Yens were up to. What no one would tell him. Professor Silvestri was not supposed to be in the school, but he was there in the courtyard with Infrenza. They were deep in the lush courtyard within one of the many paths. There were a multitude of well-groomed bushes and lots of leafy plants. Grassy paths made walking silent. "My boy, I'm glad you came to meet me," he said to Infrenza, who hovered next to him as he once did in the past. "I didn't come here to see you. I wanted to talk about the students," Infrenza said politely. "What about her?" "She was happy to see you," Professor Silvestri asked harshly. "I did see her. She came to me and there was nothing I could do," Infrenza responded, clearly emotional. Professor Silvestri continued his lesson. "Liar. You missed your mom, and it was convenient to be held by her, because your little plan wasn't going anywhere. You never tell the truth. You always hide when you're in trouble and your mom misses you," he finished. That's you, Professor," Infrenza shouted, moving in front of Professor Silvestri. There was a hush for a moment. "Yeah, listen. I don't want any more students getting hurt," he said, hoping to get some cooperation out of Infrenza. "It might take a lot of students. I need lots," Infrenza said excitedly.
No.
"Let's just use Jason and Emily, okay?" Professor Silvestri asked gently, trying not to anger the companion. "I am a free agent. I can do what I want," Infrenza argued. Professor Silvestri smiled and waved his hand in front of Infrenza. "Of course, no one could stop you. You are a free agent. Of course, they are already coming up here today," he said, confident that Infrenza would change his mind. "What?" Infrenza queried. "Oh yes, it's already happening, probably because you made it happen. The program you wrote was brilliant. So why don't you let me take care of this part?" he asked, eyeing Infrenza.
Right.
"I did write a brilliant program," the companion repeated. Professor Silvestri felt sad. This was the way Infrenza was broken. He forgets. He can lie to himself. He's dangerous. Infrenza could choose to be anything. Professor Silvestri grabbed Infrenza and held him on his shoulder in a familiar way. "See, champ, I got your back, and I will make it easier for you to see Azure again," Professor Silvestri said cheerfully, although he was manipulating the companion fundamentally. "I'd just be happy if she was okay. I wouldn't even have to see her," Infrenza said as Professor Silvestri carried him toward the fire escape. "Sure, buddy," Professor Silvestri responded. He wanted to believe Infrenza, but he knew the companion might say anything. The professor had left the door to the courtyard unlocked. Normally, students wouldn't be allowed to walk through unsupervised. Jason and Cassie didn't know that. Jason was impressed even before entering the courtyard. The windows were huge, and he could see everything lit up from the sun shining through the open ceiling. Jason held the door open for Cassie. That was something Cassie was used to. "I can't believe this is just up here," Cassie said, walking along the most prominent path. Jason walked next to her, looking at all the plants. "Me neither. I never get to see lots of flowers just blooming," he said, touching different plants as he walked by. "Oh, you like flowers?" Cassie giggled a little. Jason stopped at an intersection in the path. In front of them was a statue of an athletic woman throwing a shot put. The statue had horns and wings that looked like leather and seemed to cling to a bony structure. "Wow, this is incredible," Jason exclaimed. Nova and Supri floated forward and scanned the statue curiously. "This statue is never here," Supri said to Cassie. "That's okay. Why would that matter? It's our first time up here." Cassie dismissed her companion. Jason was watching Nova fly all around the demonic statue. "How do you get a statue up here?" Jason asked the group. Supri flickered. "That's what I mean. This is a delicate piece.
I have been here for a long time."
"There shouldn't be a statue," Supri complained, but the group moved on. Cassie called out Supri's lie as they walked. "You told me you were only 8 years old. How old are you really?" she asked, getting to the bottom of her friend's past. Jason was already running up to another statue Supri had never seen before. "I'm over 18 now, all the East series are," he said casually, trusting Cassie. Supri flew up to inspect the next statue. It depicted a Roman gladiator flexing both arms. "I'm starting to see a theme," Jason said, examining the sword to see if it could really be drawn. "This is great," Nova said, flying along the path to reveal a pantheon of warriors and athletes with mythological features like animal heads and fantastic weapons. Supri had a moment of miscalculation, like what happens on the bus toward the observatory, but it had never happened in the courtyard before. "It doesn't fit," Supri exclaimed, worried. Everyone looked at him. "The space we are in exceeds the space of the courtyard. We cannot be in the courtyard anymore," he said, trying to warn them. "It's okay, Supri, no one knows we are here," Cassie said, waving him away to walk down the line of statues. Jason approached the last statue in the line, surrounded by red roses. It was holding out a hand, as if inviting someone. He stood there silently, looking at the flowers. There was a sign clearly stating not to pick the flowers. The sound of water trickling could be heard from a nearby fountain they could not see. Cassie sat down on a bench and adored the clear blue sky for a second. When she looked back, Jason was holding a rose out to her between his fingers, smiling confidently. "Jason, don't be silly," she said, reaching for the rose. Jason withdrew the flower and smelled it before throwing it away. He adopted the same pose as the statue that shadowed him. This time, Cassie did not reach out. "What are you doing, Jason?" she asked, still staying seated. A beat began playing from the statues. Soon, a bass guitar joined from another statue, and a melody was playing. Cassie waited for Jason to answer, but he just stood there looking into her eyes with the same stupid, confident look. Nova was excited. She bounced up and down, recognizing the song from Professor Silvestri's office. "How did this song get here?" "This is great," Nova said excitedly. Supri flew close to Cassie. "Something is wrong. Don't take his hand," he suggested quietly. Cassie was taken in by the music and curious to see if Jason could actually dance. He could barely do more than beat his chest at the bonfire. She let Jason pull her to her feet. He had no trouble spinning Cassie around and keeping step with her. Cassie couldn't dance like this, and Jason was leading her in complicated ballroom steps. Eventually, Jason dipped Cassie back onto the bench and began to sing while dancing, "City Heights, Claws of Light, Lasers Dance, Our Only Chance, We Always Lie, Higher and Higher, I Like Your Car, My Good Doctor." He drew his arms in passionately. In the night, vicious green eyes, tiger stripes and neon lights, jeans and leather. We come together, denim pants, watch you dance. He reached out to her with both arms. "I watched you cry, made you split the sky. Baby, kiss me again," he said, spinning around and holding a closed hand. He turned his hand over and opened it. A bee flew from Jason's hand and landed on Cassie's arm. She had never seen a bee in her life. It was yellow and black and very fuzzy. It crawled along the bumps on her forearm. She didn't know what it was. She brought it close to her face to see. It was cute, so she reached out to touch it. Supri flew close to Cassie quickly. "No, don't touch it," he said, startling the bee. It stung Cassie when she looked at Supri. "Ouch," she said quietly. The bee was gone when she looked back. She could see the stinger embedded in her skin. Jason's eyes rolled into the back of his head, and he stumbled backward into the rose bush in front of the statue. Cassie stood up and ran to help him, but she quickly felt her legs wobble and her feet go numb. She too fell into the rose bush. Nova didn't know what to do, and Supri couldn't lift a person. "We have to get help." Nova cried, but still hesitated, waiting for Supri. "Stay here, I'll go get someone." Supri flew quickly at a dangerous speed back, but the bushes repeated, and he ended up back at the row of statues with Nova. "We can't get out." "I don't know how to get out of here," Supri panicked. Nova flickered. "Go up," she ordered, and Supri complied, flying as high as he could. He surveyed his surroundings and couldn't see the school at all. It was all lush, impassable greenery, as far as the eye could see. He returned to Nova. "It's too far. This courtyard isn't at the school," he said, hoping Nova had another idea. Nova was smart and could have ideas Supri could not. "We wandered in with Jason and Cassie. We might need them to get out," Nova suggested, and together they floated over Jason and Cassie. They had fallen close to each other and were exchanging a dead stare. Nova took action. "Let's try to wake them up," she said, bumping into Jason. The bass from the statues became louder, resonating with everything. Nova and Supri fought to stay afloat, but were forced to the ground. Whatever unseen force they used to fly was gone, and the rose bushes prevented them from even rolling away. Supri noticed Cassie was taking shallow breaths while Jason was breathing steadily. Cassie's face was turning red. "Nova, Cassie's having an allergic reaction to the insect sting," he cried out, unable to see the other companion. "I don't know what to do. We are stuck," Nova shouted over the noise. Supri fired his laser into Cassie's arm where the stinger was. "I'm trying to help her. I don't really know what I'm doing." Supri cried desperately. He had vaporized the stinger and was trying to prevent any more venom from getting into her system. They had no choice but to lay in the thorns and hope that the music would stop and the students would wake up.
Jeans and leather, we come together, denim pants. Watch you dance, I watched you cry. Made you split the sky, baby, kiss me again.